Britain has been shaken to its very core. A Supreme Court ruling has ripped open the walls of secrecy at Downing Street, exposing a plot so shocking it threatens to rewrite the meaning of Brexit itself. The judgment is not just another routine legal decision. It is a political earthquake that questions the honesty of Britain's leadership and the survival of its democracy. For months, whispers filled the corridors of Westminster. Whispers that Prime Minister Keir Starmer was hiding something, that behind the speeches and promises, a secret plan was taking shape. Now those whispers have been confirmed by the highest court in the land. The Supreme Court has ruled, unanimously, that the government acted unlawfully. It deliberately misled Parliament. It kept the public in the dark. And most explosive of all, it pursued a covert deal with the European Union designed to quietly drag Britain back under Brussels rules without approval from voters or MPs. The reaction is nothing short of volcanic. Commentators call it one of the greatest betrayals of modern times. Politicians across the spectrum describe it as an assault on parliamentary sovereignty itself. And the people, those who voted in the Brexit referendum nearly a decade ago, are asking the same furious question were we lied to from the very beginning. The Supreme Court's judgment is damning in every detail. All 11 justices agreed. They described the government's conduct as unlawful, dishonest, and deliberately deceptive. For Britain's top judges to use language that severe is almost unheard of. And with that one ruling, the careful image of Keir Starmer as a trustworthy rule-following leader has been shattered. What remains is a portrait of a Prime Minister cornered, exposed and accused of plotting against the very people who put him in power. Documents released alongside the ruling reveal the extent of the cover-up. According to the files, Starmer's ministers spent more than a year in secret meetings with EU officials. Not casual conversations, but structured strategic negotiations. They took place in hidden venues, private townhouses in London, diplomatic residences, shielded from reporters, discreet offices in Brussels. Every step was carefully designed to leave no paper trail. Civil servants were allegedly ordered to avoid official minutes, to use encrypted communications, and to mark sensitive messages for deletion. What was the goal of these hidden talks? The answer is explosive. Far from minor cooperation, the government drafted binding agreements that would lock Britain back into EU trade rules, farming regulations, environmental policies, and even digital standards. This was not technical alignment. This was a roadmap for re-entry into the EU's orbit, achieved through the back door, disguised in harmless language, and kept secret from the very Parliament sworn to oversee it. The shock doesn't end there. Several of these agreements weren't just drafted, they were already signed. Signed behind closed doors, signed without debate, signed without a single word spoken in Parliament. Legally binding commitments that tethered British law back to Brussels, while the government publicly promised the opposite. To millions of voters, this is not just deception, it is betrayal. A betrayal of Brexit, a betrayal of democracy, a betrayal of trust. And the fallout has been immediate and ferocious. Inside Labour MPs are livid. Many claim they were blindsided, kept in total darkness. Those representing Leave constituencies now face political disaster. Some whisper that their careers may be over if they cannot distance themselves from Starmer's scandal. Letters of no confidence are already circulating in the shadows. Behind closed doors, emergency meetings are being called. The mood is one of disbelief, rage and panic. The opposition smells blood. Reform UK calls it proof of a covert rejoin plot and demands Starmer's resignation. Nigel Farage hails the court's ruling as a victory for truth and democracy. Even the Conservatives, often torn apart by internal battles, are suddenly united. Former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak thunders that the ruling proves the most brazen assault on parliamentary sovereignty in modern history. On social media, Tory MPs hammer a single devastating slogan. Starmer lied. The court proved it. But the real storm is brewing outside Parliament, in the streets. Within hours of the judgment, thousands of protesters gathered outside Westminster. They waved Union Jacks, they held placards reading, "Respect Brexit" and "Stop the EU betrayal." Across Twitter, hashtags like Starmer lied and Brexit betrayal surged to the top of the trending list. Online petitions demanding the Prime Minister's resignation gathered tens of thousands of signatures in days. For millions, especially in Brexit voting heartlands, the court's ruling has confirmed what they long suspected, that the political establishment never truly respected the referendum of 2001. The fury unleashed by the Supreme Court ruling is spreading like wildfire across Britain. In city after city, thousands are pouring onto the streets. Birmingham, Manchester, Newcastle, Sheffield. Crowds are swelling voices, thundering with chants of "Respect Brexit" and "Starmer must go." What began as scattered demonstrations outside Parliament has transformed into a nationwide movement. Union Jacks wave above furious crowds. Placards scream betrayal. The anger is raw, volcanic, and unstoppable. Police are on high alert. In some towns, protests have escalated into shouting matches with MPs. Local constituency surgeries, usually quiet affairs, have descended into chaos. In certain districts, MPs had to be escorted out under police protection as furious voters demanded answers. Community halls, once used for calm political discussion, have become battlegrounds of distrust. The people are not just angry, they are convinced their democracy has been hijacked. Inside Labour, the atmosphere is toxic. Shadow cabinet ministers are refusing to appear on television to defend the Prime Minister. Backbenchers are openly preparing for a leadership coup. Private WhatsApp groups are filled with MPs trading drafts of no-confidence letters. One Labour strategist reportedly told colleagues, "The ship is sinking. If he doesn't jump, we will push him." The whispers of rebellion are no longer whispers. They are growing into roars. The opposition is seizing the moment. Reform UK is experiencing a dramatic surge in the polls, their message amplified by the scandal. Nigel Farage is everywhere, on radio, on television, online, branding this crisis Britain's Watergate and declaring that Labour's credibility is shattered for an entire generation. The Conservatives, usually fractured and divided, are united in their fury. Senior Tory MPs demand Starmer's resignation. Former party leaders, usually silent in crises, are now stepping forward to condemn the Prime Minister as a liar who must go. And it's not just domestic politics at stake. The international backlash has begun. In Brussels, EU officials are furious. Diplomats describe the revelations as toxic and destabilising. They warn that relations with Britain may be poisoned for years. Across the Atlantic, American commentators are equally blunt. On CNN, one analyst declared, if this happened in Washington, impeachment proceedings would already be underway. Britain's image as a stable democracy, admired across the world, is crumbling. The most dangerous storm, however, may be legal. Watchdogs and investigators are already combing through the evidence. If civil servants were indeed instructed to delete records or destroy files, it could amount to obstruction of justice. Legal experts warn this carries severe penalties, including prison sentences. Whistleblowers describe encrypted messages, secret emails marked for auto-deletion, and meetings where no minutes were allowed. This is not merely scandal, it may be criminal conspiracy. As the investigations deepen, so too does the collapse of trust. Ordinary voters who once defended Starmer now say they feel betrayed. Town halls are filled with heckles of liar and traitor. Online petitions demanding his resignation have exploded past 100,000 signatures. The public mood is poisonous. For many, this is no longer about party politics. It is about democracy itself. The crisis has created three simultaneous fires: a legal crisis, a political crisis, and a crisis of trust. Legally, the Supreme Court has ruled the government acted unlawfully. Politically, Labour is in open rebellion and Starmer's leadership hangs by a thread. And perhaps most devastating of all, the people have lost faith in the system that governs them. Once that trust collapses, it is almost impossible to rebuild. The pressure is now unbearable. Each day brings fresh leaks, new revelations, louder protests. In the halls of Westminster, MPs whisper comparisons to historic scandals. Watergate in America, Profumo in Britain. Scandals that toppled leaders and changed politics forever. The question is no longer if Starmer can recover, but whether his government can survive the week. In number 10, the mood is one of total isolation. Advisors are described as shell-shocked. Ministers dodge reporters, slip through side entrances, and refuse interviews. Security around the Prime Minister's residence has been tightened amid fears of escalating demonstrations. Keir Starmer, once portrayed as steady and rule-abiding, is now cast as cornered, weakened, and surrounded by enemies on all sides. And then came the final blow. A second leaked memo surfaced. This one far more dangerous than the first. Labelled confidential, eyes only. It details a timeline stretching all the way to 2030. The plan is unmistakable, a gradual process of aligning Britain back into the European Union structures until eventual full re-entry could be achieved without a referendum. The memo eve,